Welcome to Pax Europiana. Here in front of the Austrian Ministry of Agriculture, I call for Mercosur ratification, because that's really very important now. We have to ratify the Mercosur agreement. And by the way, that's a very logical step if we want to counter higher agricultural prices and inflation. Inflation is the weapon which Russia uses against Europe now in this war against Ukraine and against us. It's an economic war as well. Higher energy prices, higher agriculture prices is driving up prices in the European Union, creates inflation and undermines the political stability of Europe. That's the calculus of Putin. So guys, if we no longer trade with Russia and there's limitations with Ukraine due to the war, obviously the logic is, contrary to French protectionism and the Austrian helpers like Kurz and Köstinger and all these people who in their agricultural populism have served Putin so well in the last 10 years or longer, 20 years, because they have blocked us from our natural access market in South America and in America and Africa, Indonesia, Australia, where our allies live. Where we always have traded since centuries. We have traded with America, with Africa, with Asia. But now the last 20 years we were blocked because of the Russian lobby inside the European Union and the French protectionists, which have done their best to undermine the access to the world markets for especially the Germans and the Austrians and their helpful idiots here in this ministry. Yes, that's I think the terms. Because they have, I'm sorry when I offended some friends of mine, but this is the truth. And I'm fighting for 25 years. I was kicked out because I was fighting for this, from the Farmers Union. It's called Bauernbund, and which dominates this building. Yes, exactly, that's the thing. And I'm calling not only for Mercosur ratification, but also for a free trade with the USA, with the TTIP it's called, you remember? I'm calling also for the free trade with the African Union, with ASEAN, with the Southeast Asian nations, which are a strategic partner of the European Union. But we didn't have the mercy to do any free trade agreement with them. Also free trade with India, which was part of the European trading system until 1966, when they broke out of the sterling system. But no, we have no free trade system, and now the British, which were until 2020 in the European trading system, are able to make a free trade agreement by the end of 2022. And the Europeans not, because the protectionists dominate us. It's the responsibility of this ministry and of their counterparts in France and others, because we have high prices, because they have not been able to let tariff-free the Ukraine goods on the European market in the last 8 years. And now they just for 1 year have made this concession of tariff-free access to the European Union market. This is the protectionism that kills. These are the secret allies of Putin, because they block the Mercosur agreement, the TTIP agreement, the African Union agreement, the agreement with Pakistan, with India, with Indonesia, with ASEAN, with Australia, with New Zealand. It's 10 major free trade agreements. I'm talking only about the major ones. America, Mercosur, that's South Africa, African Union, then it's the Gulf Cooperation Council, I forgot that one, India, and then Pakistan, it's 6, then it's Indonesia, 7, ASEAN, that's part of, Indonesia is part of ASEAN, so I count them twice, it's 8, and New Zealand, and it is of course Australia. Australia, so important. Where do we get the coal from and the uranium if not from Russia? Obviously from Australia, among others, but Australia is a very important market, obviously. And why don't we have a free trade agreement with Australia? Can anybody explain it to me? I don't know that. Because these people here in the agriculture and their lobby of Copa Cacheca in Brussels and their Paris counterparts are blocking the access for the European consumers to the world market, for the European SMEs to the world market, and they continuously, with their dangerous protectionism, destroy our prosperity and keep us poor and keep the inflation high. And this is the responsibility of that ministry and their agricultural protectionist friends like Sebastian Kurz, who happily is no longer in power, but Emmanuel Macron obviously is re-elected, and he will continue to serve the French industrial agriculture protectionist interests, and this will take us down, lead to more inflation, and then strengthen the appeasement groups in the European Union, because they will say, look, we have the war and then we have high inflation. No, we have the high inflation because we block the world out of our markets. This is the reason for the high inflation. The high energy prices is because we don't get the supplies from Australia and from coal and from uranium and from other input sources in wheat and agriculture. We don't allow the Latin Americans on our markets freely. This is the problem, or in a regulated way, because it's not about free access. It's just about regulated, decent access for Mercosur. We keep them out. We keep the big producers of America out of our markets, and then we pay higher prices, and then we have higher inflation, and then the left is jubilating. You see, capitalism is not working. You see, the people are poor. We have to have higher redistribution. We have to higher redistribution, and we have to have appeasement with Russia. That's the logic of the protectionists, of their own kind of mistakes, yeah? Of their historic mistakes, yeah? Of their tragic, disastrous trade policy of blocking Europe out of global prosperity and global markets. Over 25 years since the creation of the WTO, we discuss about better access for the development world on the European and American markets. And now in this crisis it would be so good, so beneficial for them and for us. Because it's only 44 countries who are supporting us. India and Africa and Latin America is not so much supporting us in the situation in the war in Ukraine. Because why? Because we exclude them from OECD, from our markets. We are the agricultural protectionists. Yeah? And then the same people who have led us into the energy crisis, the Kurzis, the Wolfgang Schüssels, the costing us, and their SPÖ equivalents of Ranitsky, and also the servants of Putin in the FPÖ, and also the Greens. There's nobody excused on that one. Yeah? It's all the same: anti-TTIP, anti-CETA, anti-Mercosur, anti-Africa, anti-ASEAN, because of the palm oil. Because the palm oil is such a big problem. Even Indonesia and Malaysia bring us to the WTO because they think it's totally unjustified populism and anti-scientific kind of hatred of science. Yeah? And all these people, I remember, who now say we have a problem with science. Yeah? They have the last 20 years made all the populism against palm oil, against genetically modified food, yeah? Because what the Americans eat, the Europeans cannot eat. I mean, the Americans are living longer than we. They're also healthy. But we found out GMO, palm oil, and the saving of the Amazonas is more important than global prosperity, economic growth. And we have to defend the Amazonas from Brazil. As if, and there's the big irony of all this, because we say, imagine how in Colombia the coal is generated, mined, yeah? Because that is now a big topic. Now more must come from the European Glencore is mining in Colombia, for example, under very bad conditions. I'm very sorry for that. Yeah, let's also have a more decent regulation there. I'm absolutely in favor and protect everybody. Yeah, fine. Yeah, but have you ever thought under which condition the mining operations of gas, oil, or uranium are happening in Russia? Where is the investigative reporting about the social situation in Siberian minorities and tribes of... there have many minorities living in Siberia, not Russians. How do they live? Nobody cares in Europe. Oh, it's cheap. The Russian gas is cheap and it's good conditions there. Yeah, Putin, they care. This is what the Köstingers, Kurzes and the Schüssels trying to tell us. But it's very deep problematic is the Amazon and it's the Colombian coal mines and all this injustice, and we have to keep them out of our markets. Yeah, that's very good. Yeah. This is the bullshit I have to work now for 25 years since I'm in public policy. I have to get with this protectionist, yeah, and I'm really up to here with them, yeah, because they keep us poor and then they say, oh, we are poor. That's the situation. They are destroying their own potential for growth which globalization obviously brings. And then they say later, when their own agent Putin destroys our system and wages war, they say, our trade system is not working, handel through wandel doesn't work. Yeah? Absolute nutter nonsense. Of course it works if we would allow it, yeah? But it doesn't work with evil guys like Putin, yeah? Obviously. But let's trade with Latin America. Let's trade with America, the country which saved us from the Nazis, from the Soviets, and is now saving Ukraine. Because the Ukrainians would have certainly lost without America if they would have to rely only on Europe. Because we are utterly useless. Our institutions utterly useless in this war. The Americans have now, the second time, made a budget requirement after 13 billion, 13.3, they have now added 33. So it's 46 billion. And what are we doing? Like a 1.5 peace facility, and then 1.2 macroeconomics, and then some military help, where Estonia is by far the best of all countries, and Germany and Austria utterly neglect of the responsibility. I'm ashamed to be born here. It's a shame. Protectionist, socialist, nationalist, appeasement, all the worst things together. That's Austria. And then they think, oh, we are doing good. We are just fine. As socialist, protectionist, nationalist, xenophobes. And now, for example, they are opening the labor market a bit, but very much a bit only. They're not, and they're allowing the Ukrainians on the labor market only for 1 year, and then go back. Or the best thing is now, the Kosovo guys, they just sent me the message that gets visa-free, gets Kuwait and Dubai get visa-free access to the Schengen, and Kosovo doesn't get it. I mean, the people are really angry. You can imagine. Anyhow. This is so far about trade policy and my rant of the day in front of the Ministry of Agriculture. One of the institutions which, on many ways, they make good things for the farmers. I really like it, yeah. But when you give them the power to dominate European trade policy, they are destroying so much prosperity globally and for us, and they are the reason for inflation. And really, they shouldn't be so powerful on the European level. And I will do my best to make sure that their nefarious influence will be diminished as much as possible. Thanks a lot here from Pax Europiana. Please open the European trade system for the world, and let's have a freer, fairer, better world by more free trade agreements from the EU. 10 of them missing today in 2022. Ursula von der Leyen, wake up! Conclude real agreements and open Europe for the world, for the free world, so we can win the war in Ukraine, for Ukraine, with Ukraine, and against Russia. Bye. Thanks a lot. More to come from Pax Europiana. Bye.